Zodia Custody empowers institutions to confidently navigate the future of digital assets by seamlessly merging traditional financial systems with the emerging digital asset ecosystem. So, as part of our Markets on Chain series with the Global Blockchain Business Council, with me is Julian Sawyer, the CEO of Zodia, to explain more. Let's start there. Give me an overview of what it is you're doing at Zodia.
So Zodia was created by Standard Chartered Ventures about 6 years ago on the premise that the future was the blockchain. Custody is a foundation, so if we can store your assets safe, then everything can evolve from there. And then they also realized that they couldn't do it within the bank. This is too innovative, it is too forward-looking, and how do you do that? So we created a venture business to be able to hold your digital assets and be able to work with that. We have a number of other shareholders, including Northern Trust, and then therefore we're very much about being owned by the banks and used by the banks, which I think is a very different maturity than you have from a crypto native organization. And really, we have two parts to our business. We have our regulated custody business, where we can hold your assets as a regulated entity in Europe, in the Middle East, and also in Asia. And secondly, we have our solutions business, which is where we sell software as a service to banks, because ultimately banks want to own their own technology. They want to own where they're going. And so we support them through that.
Interesting. So that explains why you have so many big traditional financial names behind you, as you really came from the banking industry. So, I mean, how is that a key part of Zodia's mission and success so far?
So I think what you've got is an industry with crypto, which is maturing, but still slightly outside of core financial services. But if you think about what digital assets is it's also stable coins, and it is also tokenization of real world assets. Those are mainstream financial services. And therefore you've got to be able to operate understanding what risk is, what compliance is, and ensure, as a subsidiary of Standard Chartered Bank, we have to adopt those anyway. And so it's really about the maturity. And I think what you've got then is this almost like the second generation of custody. Yeah, the first was very much about crypto natives. It was very much about keeping your keys yourself and things like ledger devices and things like that. And actually, if you're wanting to be a financial institution holding digital assets, where do you go? Where is that trust? And ultimately, all that we do is manage trust for our clients.
Because I know a lot of people that have money at banks are also interested in owning some crypto as well. So that's where you come in. You hold those assets
on behalf of the banks, on behalf of the financial institutions. Okay. Yes.
Now, do they you have the same governance, compliance? I mean, everything that traditional bank would have.
Correct. Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. And that then resonates very well with our clients who are saying, we want this technology, we want this solutions in place, and understand how that plugs into their banking systems, into core banking, and they understand what that means. And I think that is the critical part of what we offer, but also what the industry is looking for.
Now, do you think they will merge at some point, or does it make sense to have them separate for quite some time?
I think the technology is going to be separate because it is very different. I mean, the world of digital assets is 24/7. It is global. You know, even just something quite flippant, often we work to 12 decimal places. Banking tends to work to 2 decimal places.
Okay.
So there's a lot of differences in there, but the technology is different. I think what is really interesting and what I really hope as an industry is we stop talking about digital assets. It's just part of financial services. And actually it's part of the growing opportunity that digital assets and the technology can give to financial services, whether that is tokenization, whether that's payments and stablecoin, or whether it's crypto and the exciting journey that is going to.
Now, you're based in the UK.
We are.
Have the Genius Act that we've had here in the US, did that affect your business at all? And what's going on in Europe in terms of tokenization and digital assets?
Yeah, I think what has happened with the Genius Act and clarity as it's coming through is it's just providing some reassurance to financial institutions in America that actually this is a future, this is something they can start investing in. And we're here today in New York, and it is fantastic to talk to a lot of clients, a lot of prospects who probably 12, 18 months ago probably wouldn't return the phone call. And now they're going, we need to solve for this. We need to have some technology. We need to understand what this means and how it can help our clients, because there is a real demand. And then if you look globally, you've got different regulations in different jurisdictions. you've got some regulators who are slightly behind the curve, and you've got some that are being more advanced. But I think what we're seeing is some commonality and some alignment between some of the major financial markets around the world. And we really want to encourage that. I think the other part that is super interesting is America has got a concept of a qualified custodian. It's a legal definition of what a custodian does. And I've been on stage many times around the world talking about why can't the rest of the world copy the United States in terms of that, to give reassurance to clients about what a custodian does, not just as a third-party regulated custodian, but also from a platform perspective, what it means and what good looks like. And I think there is some real developments that I think is coming forward on that.
And you were here for the digital asset conference.
Yeah.
So what was your sense of kind of the mood, the tone?
There's a real positive vibe. I was there last year as well. I think the almost the flippant comment, which we spoke about earlier, which was there's a lot of people in suits, much more than last year. And some of these crypto native conferences seem to be a little bit more relaxed, shall we say. And we're seeing a lot more suits in the room. That is really good. A lot more serious conversations, a lot of more, how can I do this? Not should I, or if I'm doing this, it's how do I, what do I need? Can you help us through that journey?
Interesting. Yeah, I was at some of those early crypto conferences, and they were fun.
They were.
Yeah, not too serious. So
yes.
Now, just since you're on the front lines of this industry, where do you see things going? 1 year, 5 years? How will we transact, live, interact with blockchain?
I think the blockchain should be in part of everything which we do. And so when we are buying a coffee in Starbucks, we shouldn't be thinking, oh, is this going through a stable coin, or is this going through fiat or whatever? It should be, I'm just helping consumers and corporates in moving money, managing money, borrowing and lending. There's some fantastic opportunities that this technology enables, and we should be embracing that. And it'd be just really good if we just stop talking about the blockchain. It's just an underlying technology that does some great things. So how can we make payments quicker? How can we do cross-border? How we do supply chain? How we can borrow and lend? How we can look at tokenization of real-world assets, and what does that mean? So I think there is a general direction, because the average person on down the street does not really think about blockchain. They don't think about what it can do. What we need to do as an industry is make sure that we're really solving their problems with financial services. And that includes inclusion, it includes speed, it means efficiency, and also cost.
Yeah, well, it is an exciting time to be in this industry and see all this change taking place. So Julian, thank you so much for being part of the Markets on Chain series with the Global Blockchain Business Council and bringing your perspective.
Thank you for having me today. Thank you.